How much is the FDI, foreign direct investment? How much FDI is allowed now? How much FDI is allowed now? 74. Very good. 74. Now here I'll tell you the difference between FDI and FPI. FDI is known as foreign direct investment. Foreign direct investment. FPI is foreign portfolio investment. Foreign portfolio investment. Now, what is the difference between these two? Foreign portfolio investment means it is a long-term investment. Long-term investment. So, any foreign company, it can do long-term investment in the route of foreign direct investment in India. So, it has a few guidelines and rules that it has to follow. Like, even though if there is any recession in the particular country from where it it origins, even though there is some kind of any disturbance, even then the foreign direct investment cannot be taken back. Even then, the foreign direct investment cannot be taken back. But it's not the case with foreign portfolio investment. Like if you see, it is a short-term investment that is done by any foreign company in India. So depending upon the domestic situations, any recession or economic decline in the respective countries from where it origins, they may take out the money from India. So what happens is that when the people of India who invest using this foreign portfolio investment, they cannot earn profits, forget about profits. They will be at a very major loss in their business because all the money will be taken back. So India is more focused on getting foreign direct investment than foreign portfolio investment. This is a bit conceptual. So understand the difference between foreign portfolio and foreign direct investment. Clear? Did you understand? Now, next question. I hope you have revised it. So that's why, because budget is very important. So till next year, February, whatever exams you're writing, this budget is important, and I have done it very exclusively and holistically. So you should keep on revising it. Okay. Then next question. Coming under the Mission Poshan 2.0, what are the schemes that are merged? Mission Poshan 2.0, what are the schemes that are merged? Very good, Tejaswini. Very nice. Very good. Very good, Harish. Very nice of you guys. I'm so happy that you people are really concentrating. See, if you concentrate every day like this, there is no person who can defeat you in the examinations, right? See, now I'm telling you, even if you belong to any other state or Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, or Karnataka, or Tamil Nadu, or something, definitely they are conducting the examinations, competitive examinations, whatever it may be. Maybe you have, maybe you're preparing for DI, but still you have the knowledge because ES Pharma is providing you very good general studies knowledge that you can write any other examination with the preparation. Because there is no need for you to take any other coaching for group 1, group 2, or something like that. Okay, everything is covered so nice for you, I'm telling you. So I myself covering you very nicely. I'm explaining you. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. But only one thing is that you have to revise. Otherwise, you will forget. Otherwise, you will forget it. Right?
So we'll see the economic survey. So this year particularly, economic survey has a theme called saving lives and livelihoods. Saving lives and livelihoods. Saving lives and livelihoods. Because the preceding year COVID-19 has taken away many livelihoods and it has destroyed many lives. So the economic survey, the theme is very important. So please write it. Economic survey, this 2021, the foundational theme is saving lives in livelihood. So tell me the procedure when to submit the economic survey. We submit economic survey before the budget or after the budget. We present economic survey before the budget or after the budget. How? A day before the budget. Yes, very good. A day before the budget, we submit the economic survey. So economic survey is an annual document that is released by the Ministry of Finance. Ministry of Finance. Let me tell you one more thing, that Ministry of Human Resource Development, which was earlier called as Ministry of Human Resource Development. If you're following news, you might be knowing this, that it is now called Ministry of Education. Just a GK point, just write it. It is called Ministry of Education now. Earlier it is called Ministry of Human Resource Development, but now it is called Ministry of Education. Clear? You should know it well before, otherwise you may get confused later. Now, who is going to prepare the economic survey document? It is prepared by the Economic Division of It is prepared by the Economic Division of Department of Economic Affairs. Department of Economic Affairs. Who is going to head this economic division of Department of Economic Affairs? It is headed by Chief Economic Advisor. Chief Economic Advisor. Who is the current Chief Economic Advisor? Dr. Krishnamurthy Subramanian. Please note down. Dr. Krishnamurthy Subramanian. Please note down. Done? Yes. Then the first economic survey in India was presented in the year 1950, for the year 1950 to 1951. If you can remember, which plan period is it? Can you tell me which plan period is it in the 5-year planning? Which plan period is it? Which plan period is it? Those who have attended the economic lectures, those who have attended the economic lectures, tell me which plan period is it? It is the first planning period, no? First 5-year plan. It is the first 5-year plan. First 5-year plan period 1950 to 1955. So up to 1964, up to 1964, up to 1964, economic survey was presented along with the union budget. But from 1964, we are separating it separately. We are presenting it. Yeah. Then, as we have 6-pillar strategy for the union budget, like health and well-being, innovation, human resource development, that is education, and innovation and research and development, right? So as we have 6 pillars for our economic survey, we are having 4 pillars. For economic survey, we are having 4 pillars. The 4 pillars are financial pillar, fiscal pillar, financial pillar, fiscal pillar. We are having containment pillar. I'll explain you this. Containment pillar, and then we are having structural reforms. We are having structural reforms. These words are big words, but then don't be afraid. I'll explain you each and every. Financial pillar. That means India should be strong financially, so that only then, even if situations like COVID-19 arises, India can provide food and other necessary facilities and necessary things for the citizens of India. So it has to be financially strong. Next one, yesterday we have seen that physical deficit. We are taking so much of borrowings, right? So that's why physical deficit is around 9.5% for the preceding year, and this year in the budget estimates we're expecting it to be 6.8%. So the physical strength of the country, that means the borrowing capacity, should not go really high. We have to reduce it. And next one, if containment. If at all the physical, that is, if at all the physical deficit is increasing and financial condition of India is decreasing, then we have to make some reforms like containment proposals. Containment means we have to arrest the physical deficit. We have to arrest the economic decline. And also, if there are any structural reforms needed, like India today, if most of India, we can see that lot many people are still dependent upon the occupation of agriculture, right? But if at all any structural reforms are needed, then we have to make sure that these agricultural sector should also help the service sector, like transportation sector, banking sector, electricity, water, right? So all this sector should be included, and that's why we call it as a structural reform. These are the four pillars. Don't ever forget these four pillars till next coming year. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt? Yeah. Containment pillar means, see, if at all any physical deficit is increasing, that means the borrowing, government is borrowing heavily, and financial condition of India is decreasing. That means there is an economic decline in India. Then we have to containing it. Contain means arrest it. Arrest means to, arrest means again to prevent it to spread. Yeah. So instead of just leaving it like that, we have to arrest it, or we have to contain it such that the physical deficit is not going to be a burden and the country will not go for economic decline. Okay, Harish, did you get it? Want me to explain again? Madhavi, Alekia, understood? Tejaswini, Priyanka, Anjani, and Sucharita. Understood, right? Good. Next one, there is one important fact that is given in our, there is one important fact that is given, that is about Spanish flu. Here, just remember, Spanish flu, year is 1918. Year is 1918. Spanish flu year is 1918. Because you may get a question like in which year we found it, right? Spanish flu is 1918. COVID-19, here is COVID-19. Then MERS, MERS. Please write all this. MERS, Middle East Respiratory Syndrome. MERS, Middle East Respiratory Syndrome. It occurred in 2012. It emerged in 2012 in Saudi Arabia. In Saudi Arabia. Years are important, guys. Then SARS severe respiratory syndrome. SARS severe respiratory syndrome. It was emerged in 2002. Emerged in 2002 in lovely country China. The SARS virus, it is transmitted through person to person. Again, mainly through respiratory droplets. Again, just like coronavirus, like when a person sneezes or coughs, at the same time with direct contact also, it can be transferred. Then actually, if you can remember about the SARS, many news magazines were talking about SARS, saying that initially the SARS was actually found in animals. And because these individuals, that means because the farmers and the people who are very much close to the animals, like called palm civets, right? So these animals had infected the individuals who are very close to these animals. Then after that, this virus have entered into the human beings, and later on, this virus have mutated just like to undergo some human host adaptations. Then after that, consequently, human to human transmission occurred, and then it became a SARS epidemic. Right? Clear? Right? Like SARS, MERS also. That means like Middle East Respiratory Syndrome. Even it is thought that it is originated in bats, right, and animals. But this MERS coronavirus has been passed to camels, camels, and these camels became the primary source of human MERS coronavirus infection. So from these camels, the virus has transferred to the transmitted to the human beings, and again it got adapted to the conditions of human host, and then the MERS has transmitted between human beings. Did you get my point about MERS and SARS? Now, what is this Spanish flu? The Spanish flu, which emerged in 1918, it was actually not that deadly flu, but because that there are no proper medicine and there are no proper awareness for the people that they can't meet the infected ones, this became a pandemic later on. So this was actually caused by an influenza called H1N1 influenza. H1N1 influenza. H1N1 influenza. Very important. H1N1 influenza. Tell me, for the bird flu, what is the influenza called? Bird flu, what is the strain? If H1N1 is a strain of Spanish flu, what is the strain for bird flu? Taking so much of time, guys. I have explained you everything. Bird flu, swine flu. It is HY-N1. HY-N1 is bird flu. Swine flu, okay. Then coming back to our topic, we are having this 4-pillar strategy. And during this COVID-19 situation, people are not ready to work, and even then they are not having work. So even if there is a work, they are not ready to go outside because they are thinking that their household members are going to be affected, and it was a deadly disease. And not only that, these people who are interested to do work, they are not getting. Not everyone is having laptops. Not everyone is a software engineer. Not everyone can go for the work from home option, right? So different categories people, different occupations as there in the social situation of India, but still there is a lot of problems. Now, if at all the government of India's policy is just to make sure that people are not going anywhere, so if they are not going anywhere, they don't have food, so let it be. So they have to eat the food only if they have work. If that is so, then by today many of them would dead. But government of India took an advanced step saying that it is going to take both supply and demand measures. I'll erase this whole thing, then I'll write. Supply and demand measures. Supply and demand measures. That means what government is doing? Government has proposed a policy called production linkage incentive. Production linkage incentive. So government ordered the factories and even so many companies that you start producing the goods, whether these are the eatable products or whatever it may be, televisions, right, washing machines, phones, whatever it may be, you please try to produce your company products. And because of that, what happens? Employment is going to increase. I'm not talking about the strict COVID-19 measures. I'm talking when COVID-19 restrictions are eased. So people are not coming forward to purchase goods because they're not having money. At the same time, factories are not ready to produce goods because they think that if people are not having money, what the produced goods are wastage. So they are going to lose lots of money there. So government of India said, you please produce the goods, and depending upon the production capacity, I'm going to send you the customers. So what did government of India do? Government of India on one hand helped the manufacturers, on the other hand it helped the consumers by providing them money and also by providing the necessities at a cheaper rate. So this is called production linkage incentive. That means if your production is so much, you're gonna get incentive. That means like production చేసినంత that person is going to get the incentive అన్నమాట. అంటే ప్రాఫిట్ వస్తుంది. ఇంకా ప్రొడక్షన్ చేస్తుంటే ఇంకా కొంచెం ప్రాఫిట్ వస్తుంది. So this is called the production linkage incentive. This is how government has taken the supply and demand measures. Did you get my point? So that means like company production చేస్తే దానికి government will give the incentive. Government will profit them. There is no need to look for the profits from the public. So government ఇచ్చే profit government ఇస్తుంది. Clear? Harish, Alekya, yes, Sanjani. Good. Then after the lockdown, this is important, guys. I'm trying to draw something here. Okay, let me draw with a pencil. Right? So if you take a graph of the the economy during the COVID-19, it would be somewhere like this. By the way, this is straight line. Okay, this is a straight line. So we can see a V-shaped recovery. There are shapes to determine the economy, but here we can see a V-shaped recovery. V-shaped recovery, because initially, if you see at this point, there is no economic growth. Instead, it is declining. It's on declining trend. But after few days, it got into back to its position. So India went through V-shaped economy, and there are few more economies. They just have an L-shaped economy. That means they just have like this. They have an L-shaped economy. That means it neither grows, it neither decreases. Some have W economy, but India currently is going for the V-shaped economy, where once its economy is declined, but now it's again regaining. There are few countries where the no, I can say that the economy is in double recession, and there are some economies which go in this way also, like inverted way, like Z shape, right? So double recessions you can see. Clear? But India, which shape economy? India now it is V shape. That means India is falling back to its position. Clear, guys? Now quickly, before going to the next details, just have a short break for 3 to 4 minutes, I'll have some water. You also drink some water, guys. Then I'll be back. Priya with you? Be quick. Done? Are you back, people? Are you back, guys? Yeah. How come this V-shaped recovery is possible in India? Because after the declining of the economy due to COVID-19, we have seen that there is a power demand because most of the people, right, everyone is in the homes, and there is a power demand because electricity is one of the important thing. So for getting your laptop charged, for getting your phone charged, right, and to watch TV, whatever it is, there is a high consumption of electricity seen. At the same time, goods and services tax increased because most of us sitting at home are more focused on ordering things from online, Flipkart, Myntra, Amazon, right? So the GST also got increased, and steel consumption is increased. This is much funny. This is a bit funny, but then I'll tell you, people sitting at homes, they are more concentrated and focused towards making varieties of food items, right? South Indians, Northeast people, and even if you see, even in islands also, island region also, they are most focused on eating good food because everyone is at home. It's just like a free holiday, right? Free holiday, everyone gathered. Now they can celebrate each and every day, provided they do have money. Yes, this is a bit bad thing that some people they don't have money, and some people even because of the money pressure, even they committed suicides also, right? So in this world, I can tell that only two problems are always trying to create lots of disturbance in the lives of the people. One, health, the other one is financial matters. A person who has a good health, even then he has some financial issues. Even Anil Ambani or even Prime Minister Modi or even Rahul Gandhi, even they have the financial issues. There is no man on this planet that don't have the financial issues because see, depending upon their lifestyle, depending upon the targets, depending upon their objectives, things have priority, right? So for a rickshaw puller, to get 100 rupees a day may be a priority. But for Rahul Gandhi, to get 2 crores per a day might be a priority, right? So depending upon that, our objectives, our motives are defined. Now, having said this, these situations of COVID-19 has increased the power demand, has increased the goods and service tax, have also increased the food habits. Because of food habits, people are keen to purchase the steel vessels, steel utensils, and that's why steel consumption got increased. Not only that, even the buildings construction is increased. If you can see, people who are not getting married for past 3 to 5 years, now in COVID-19 they got married. You know why? Because one thing, that they don't need to call everyone. It's a big life saving corona, right? And there is like people are sitting at home, people came to know about understanding each other. So lots of social interactions of the public have decreased, but social interactions in the family have increased. So that's why there is a huge there is a huge power demand, and also the steel consumption and GST tax also increases. Not only that, the rail freight, that means the goods that is carried by the railways also got increased. See, in this world, for each and everything, there is good and the bad. If you're attending the classes, some people say that it's very good. Some people may say that why are you not going for job? You should do a job, right? Some people will say that yes, it's so nice that you're attending the classes. I don't have the opportunity. Some people say that. Some people say, why are you attending the classes? Instead of attending the classes, just go and work somewhere, right? So whatever you do in this world, there is always a positive and negative. But what we should take only the positive things, and we should do what our heart says. Not that your heart is bad. If at all your heart is bad, obviously it will give you bad decisions and bad suggestions and bad advices, right? But listen to that. But listen to your inner heart, which says that help others, love others, do good to the others, right? See, I'll tell you one thing. If you're using bad words, if you're using if you're doing bad to others, what are you going to get? The next day, when you see that guy or when you see that person is dead, your word will stay along. You have to feel so bad that, you know, with one word, I I hurt that person so much, right? So never hurt others. Always try to share goodness, share happiness. Only then the people can be happy, right? So having said this, I can tell you that the fundamentals of the economy, they remain strong even during the lockdowns because of one important mission that is called Atmanirbhar Bharat mission. Foreign direct investment, foreign direct investment in India has increased. FDI in India has increased during the lockdown period. This is important. Then, foreign portfolio investments are also increased. I explained the difference between foreign portfolio and foreign direct investments, right? So, both of them increased in India. So, foreign direct investment and foreign portfolio investment means more dollar in India. More dollar in India. Right? Now, coming to the services sector. Coming to the services sector, we are having an export sector of two categories, right? Export means we are going to sell the goods to other countries. So exports are of two categories. One is service sector. The other one is goods sector. Goods. One is goods sector. So one is goods sector, the other one is service sector. Now, goods sector means, I'll come to your point, Harish. Let me come with this. So, goods sector means, see, if you are going to export Banganpalli mangoes, if you're going to export basmati rice, if you're going to export tea, if you're going to export turmeric, all these food items. Otherwise, if you're going to export the, you know, traditionally made medicines, if you're going to export the handmade handicrafts, so all this come under the goods. But coming to the services, see, our most of Indians who are highly educated, who are technically graduated, they are more interested to work in abroad because they think that, you know, working abroad will give them a good paid salary, at the same time good facilities, and in a less time they can earn more. That's the main motive. So software engineers, and if you see the, you know, private companies, and also particularly compared to the whole India, there is one state like Kerala where most of the literacy, where literacy rate is very high, and this literacy rate, it is very high, it is very good, but then this literacy rate is not really helping India because most of the time the people who are literate enough, they are mostly concentrated to go abroad, they're mostly concentrated to go to Arab countries to work. And if you see, the female literacy rate is very high in Kerala, but still they work as nurse, and male nurse, and you know, most of them do this nursing courses, but they don't provide their services to their nation. They provide services to some other country because their main motive is the money. Exactly, if everyone is getting proper money in the country itself, why would they leave India, right? So that is a question point. That is a point that to be taken. But in India, if you see the service exports has really increased. The service export has really increased than the goods export. So most of the people are really interested and keen interested to provide their services to the other nations. Clear? Clear, guys? Yes. Then next one, the startups in India is really increasing. The startup culture in India, right? Entrepreneurs, own entrepreneurs. Here I'm gonna use a very good word that is called unicorn. Unicorn. So the startup culture in India has increased really in a wide sense. Called unicorn. What is a unicorn? Unicorn, actually, unicorn has many verbal and noun language, but then unicorn we are using in the startup sense now, the like business sense. So an unicorn in a business is actually a company, nothing but a startup with a value of turnover more than $1 billion. More than $1 billion. So in economic sense and in business terminology, an unicorn is a company like a startup which has turnover equal to or greater than $1 billion. $1 billion, right? So in India, if you see, like Flipkart, Snapdeal, these were the unicorns which started as a startups, but later the demand increased and they very soon achieved the targets of $1 billion. Did you get the word unicorn? Coming to Harish doubt, ma'am, if FPI increases, rupee value will decrease or increase. See, as such, the foreign direct investment and foreign portfolio investment, they don't have a direct connection with the valuation of rupee. The rupee increases or decreases with respect to the foreign denomination currency, and that too if at all there are more number of dollars flowing into India, right? If more number of dollars is moving into India, what happens is that these dollars will be more, and then the rupee will become less. Now it's only for certain scenario, and that too applicable for the elite companies, like very high level companies whose daily transactions will be in dollars, right? So whatever the public who are majorly living upon the rupees. So as such, no direct effect, but yes, you can see that there will be an indirect effect. But whether it will decrease or increase, it will be decided by RBI by the monetary policy, right? Devaluation or revaluation, monetary policy. At the same time, whether the value of rupee increases or decreases, on the one hand, it will be done by the RBI. On the other side, it will be developed. It is done by the market forces like supply and demand of the rupee. Then that is, in that case, it is called, here it is called monetary policy of RBI. There it is called depreciation or appreciation. These are a bit terminologies required for you, so not required for you. So I'm not using it much. So depreciation or appreciation. If we depreciation or appreciation means the rupee has depreciated with respect to dollar. That means the value of rupee is decreased. Today the dollar rate is 74 rupees, I guess. So if it is depreciated, the dollar value will be 85. If it is appreciated, the value of dollar will be 65. This is the change. But one thing RBI can also do at the same time, market forces can also do. If market forces do, that is a supply and demand of currency, Indian currency rupee is doing that, then it is called depreciation and appreciation. If at all monetary policy is doing, then it's called revaluation and devaluation. Done? Understood? Harish, did you get my point? Right? And coming to the space sector, ISRO and DRDO they are really doing good in terms of space research and development, and that's why we try to develop this, that is called New Space India Limited. New Space India Limited, right? So this is the New Space India Limited. This is majorly to sell out the Indian rockets for the other countries. C means, that means like if at all the PSLV and GSLV, just take PSLV as a rocket, it was launched, okay, and it was launched to put a satellite in the space. Now one rocket cost is very high, so much. Now why can't we utilize the same rocket for launching other countries' satellites? If we are asking other countries to send their satellites in our PSLV, which is made by India, then definitely we can earn some money. With the earning of that money, it is a profit for us, right? Instead of sending only one satellite, now we are trying to send more satellites using a similar rocket. So this is called the New Space India Limited, which does all this kind of private transactions. Do you get it? So it is a Government of India company under the Department of Space. Clear? And yesterday I read it in newspaper that there was a thunderstorm thunderstorm test bed. Thunderstorm test bed was launched at a place called Balasore. Balasore is in Odisha. Right? Thunderstorm, storm, not storm, storm. STORM. Right? So thunderstorm test bed was initiated in, which is a GK, just write it somewhere, don't mix it up with the economics of it. So thunderstorm test bed. Thunderstorm test bed means in this place DRDO, ISRO, and then Ministry of Earth Sciences, right? And then Indian Meteorological Department, Indian Meteorological Department, right? So all these institutions, they inaugurated this thunderstorm test bed. From this test bed, we are able to identify how thunderstorms are originating in India, and if at all there is any thunderstorm, then we are going to take proper precautions to evacuate people from that area, right? So it is called thunderstorm test bed. Why is it so important? Because this thunderstorm test bed is near to one of the launching site of ISRO. There is an ISRO launching site in Orissa. Can you tell me what is it? Launching pad or launching station in Orissa. Can you tell me what is it? It is called Balasore Rocket Launching Station. Balasore Rocket Launching Station. So, if at all this thunderstorm test bed is an efficient work, then while launching rockets, this is going to help a lot, right? So just keep it in your mind. It is called thunderstorm test bed. And one more thing, it starts with I want to tell you, forgot it actually. Wait, let me remember. One is thunderstorm. One is thunderstorm research test bed. The other one is monsoon. Yeah, the other one is monsoon test bed. It is also a research test bed. Okay, it is also a research test bed. It is at Bhopal. It is at Bhopal. Because we have to predict proper monsoons in India, right? So no one knows how the monsoon is coming in. No, monsoon is going earlier when technology is not there. They used to predict very carefully. But now even if technology is there, due to climate disturbances, we are not able to predict it. So that's why we are trying to use the older technology in coupling with the new technology in this monsoon research test bed, that is at Bhopal. Did you get my points, guys?